So you finally appeared. You're the one I've been looking for. You won't escape your deed. Everyone will know your truth. Goku turned to Zeno with a look full of the ache of being forgotten. In the king's eyes, there was no recognition. Zeno had truly forgotten Goku, as the priest had planned. The shock was like a dagger in the hero's chest. How could he convince a king who had forgotten? And how could he lift that heavy veil of lies? Zeno stepped forward and said, "If this is Goku, then you shall be punished." The priest nodded with a deadly calm. "Watch, my lord, for everything will proceed as it should." The priest slowly raised his hand. The inscriptions on his palm began to move like lines of ancient light. They were runes. At that same moment, the creation, the ancient angel made in the priest's laboratory, rose slowly, his eyes blazing as if a spark had ignited between two souls. The priest stood before everyone, his voice clear as an unchallengeable command. "You are the cause of deaths among my children. You have tampered with the fabric of order and sown chaos. Today, I will eliminate your existence altogether." His last word fell like an iron sword. The royal creation rose into the sky, its halo widening and shining with immeasurable power. The arena's sky began to split under the weight of the charge it was building. The angel raised his hands and focused every ounce of his essence toward the terraces. Then, with a sudden blast, he unleashed a tremendous energy toward the crowds, a wave of indescribable force capable of swallowing worlds. But it struck a human shield. Goku's cry rose high as his body took the full brunt of the colossal collapse, acting as a living shield to protect those beneath his feet who had no chance of survival. Flames and beams poured down on his chest. He gasped for air while standing like a rock. At that same moment, the priest reached toward Whis. He had paralyzed him, having discovered his betrayal and known that his intention was to protect Goku. The priest did not stop there. He raised his hand and planted additional charges of energy into the creation spirit. And finally, the great detonation erupted, and everything ended. When the rising smoke cleared, the planet was not shattered because Goku had been the shield, but the cost of that protection was heavy. Goku fell to the ground, breaths ragged as if he had reached the finish line. In the terraces, Gohan's cry pierced the air, chilling every heart. "Father!" But the barriers the ancient angel had erected were a wall against any interference. Even Whis found himself bound by rules imposed by his father. The priest smiled a harsh smile, like one who watches a perfectly staged play. He whispered in a cold voice, "Well, I did not expect you to respond with such devotion. Now finish him." Abruptly, an energy sword glowed into being. The priest presented it to the ancient angel as if it were a piece of a forgotten memory. The royal creation, he did not remember his origin, but he was programmed to possess it and carry out the command. He took steady steps toward the fallen Goku, stood above him like an executioner awaiting the signature of death. The crowd's screams turned into muffled murmurs, and the friends' hearts held their breath between fear and hope. The angel raised the energy sword high, while Goku, weighed down by pain, spoke in a broken voice, overtaken by his last breaths. "I'm not finished yet, even if it seems this is the end. There is still light that does not die. As long as faith remains in our hearts, it will endure, immortal. It will prevail, no matter what you believe." Then he closed his eyes for a brief moment, gathered the remainder of his consciousness, and whispered something that made the air around him freeze. "Elisha, she told me not to forget that light isn't just a power we bear, but a vow we protect, even if we ourselves are the darkness." At that instant, the ancient angel stopped abruptly. His calm eyes widened with a strange astonishment, as if something inside him had broken or awakened.
His hand trembled, and an unrest appeared on him that had never been seen before. Scattered images began to flash before his eyes, but suddenly, the priest's voice thundered from above, sharp and full of hysteria and rage. "Execute the command now! Do not stop! I am the one who gave you everything!" He raised his hand forcefully, then suddenly, his hand moved against his will, and the energy sword pierced Goku's chest completely. Everything stopped. Everyone stood in shock. Gohan screamed at the top of his lungs, a cry that shook hearts before it shook the ground. He broke the energy barrier around him with unprecedented force and bolted toward his father with insane speed, falling beside him as hot tears spilled onto the ground, his voice choking and trembling between fury and despair. "Father, please, open your eyes. Please don't leave me. You said the light does not die. Don't leave us in darkness, please!" Gohan's words choked on his breath, tears running down his face as he shook his father's body, while the light within him slowly dimmed. And in that moment, as the sun's scream tore the silence,